and best man as elected by the bride and groom, unanimous, I might add. I would also like to thank everyone for coming, as Bill did. I know it's not easy planning a wedding in general,
There you go.
but planning it during the past year is pretty impressive. I'm not going to use words like unprecedented or trying, because I think all of us have seen enough of those. But I'm just going to say that it's great that we're all here. It took a lot of effort from a lot of different people to get us here tonight, and I think it was pulled off wonderfully. The ceremony was beautiful. I'm super emotional. And it was beautiful, as is this reception hall. And I think it's safe to say, especially for you, the hardest part is now over. Or it's just beginning, we'll see. For those of you that do know me, you know that I have a pretty abrasive sense of humor. Pretty offensive. Matt and Colleen both said that they do trust me up here with a mic in my hand, but right now, right before I took the mic, they told me they wanted me to avoid any jokes about homosexuality or race. So, having said that, let me just find a spot where it's okay to start.
You're such a...
I guess I'll ad-lib it then. I've joked to some of you that this speech is 59 minutes long. That's a joke, but if I were to give a chronological story of Matt and I's friendship with all the important events or events that I would think were worth telling, it would be longer than that. But I'm not going to subject any of you to that. I'll give you the SparkNotes version. We've known each other for a very long time. We actually hated each other in first grade because we were the only two kids at St. Pat's who played hockey. But by the time we got to second grade, we were a lot more cultured. We knew a lot more about the world than we wanted to be. So we decided to use that common trait to become friends instead of enemies. And that was that. From the outside, it was a pretty funny friendship to those of you that didn't know us, because he was the big, quiet, shy, gentle kid, and I was the short, loud, annoying, hyperactive kid. I guess that's still true today, I just got a little taller. I will say, from the very first time I ever went over to Butler's house, I was treated like family. I grew up in a house with two sisters, both of whom are in attendance today, as are my parents. And because I didn't have any brothers, so Matt became like the brother I never had because we became friends at such an early age. And Bud and Jean, from the first time I went over there, treated me like another son. Because if that's exactly what that house needed, was another fucking boy running there. But it didn't matter to them. I was welcome from the very start. I mean, no one ever batted an eye when I walked in the garage door. I was like, oh, hey, Zach's here. Hey, grab a Mountain Dew. It's like, hey, it's 9 in the morning. So we went from St. Pat's to St. John's to Bowling Green to even working together for a couple years after college. And for the sake of rambling, I know that seems ironic, I have stories from all of them, but I'm not going to tell them all now. And if you want to hear any, just ask me over a drink later. I'll tell you literally whatever you want to hear. But I do have one story. I will say that one time at Bowling Green, our senior year, we were living together. And I walked in on him, putting mayonnaise on frozen pizza with a knife and eating it right out of his hand. I bet none of you knew where that story was going. Obviously, based on what I just said, he's made some very poor choices. And I certainly don't agree with all of them. But one choice he did make correctly is one that I wholeheartedly agree with, and that is his choice to marry Colleen. As I've stated throughout this speech, I've known Matt a very long time. And in that time, we've probably talked about everything under the sun. And the way I know that Colleen is and was different from anyone else who had ever been in his life was just in that. It was in the way he talked about her. From the very first moment on he mentioned her to me, he had a different demeanor about him. It's hard to explain, but it was a calmer, it was a sense of knowing, if you will. You know, I'm not telekinetic or anything, but I think he knew before he knew that they were going to end up together. They got along so well from the very get-go, and he was genuinely excited about it. And that's saying something, because all of us know Matt as Mr. Cool, someone who's never really excited about anything, because nothing's a big deal, because for some reason he thinks he's some sort of badass. But there was none of that cool guy shit here. He was excited about it, and he conveyed it when he first met her and they started hanging out. And we came to find out he absolutely should have been and should still be excited, because as we found out, she is and still was way the hell out of his league. And I see some of you nodding your heads in agreement. And that's not a dig on you. You're not a bad-looking guy, but I think you know where we're coming from. So Matt and Colleen started dating a few months after my then girlfriend, now wife, Abby started dating. And we kind of let things, become what they were before we decided to go on a double date. But inevitably that time was bound to come. And because as men who love each other but would never say it, we had to approve of each other's choices and life partners if we weren't going to be considering spending together. Anyway, we decided to make it happen at a totally non-cliche, exquisitely original place. And that was the lights at the Toledo Zoo. Because there's nothing more romantic than walking around the freezing cold looking at lights that have to result in an outrageous electricity bill funded by the taxpayers. Speaking of spending large amounts of taxpayer dollars, we do have a large amount of firemen in attendance. Matt mentioned there are 50 or 60 of you here. And what I'm most amazed about is the fact that all of you were able to make it. Luckily, this day did not fall on one of the 2 days you had to work this month. I'm just messing with you. We're on the top of the radio. By the way, if I end up getting my ass kicked, I think everyone here will know my who and why. Anyway, back to the story. We're out there in the freezing cold looking at a bunch of sleeping animals. And Abby and I walked past the cafe, and we decided that we wanted to get some hot chocolate. So I was like, okay, I'll go stand in line, and I turned to Matt and Colleen, and I said, did you guys want anything? Nah, we haven't decided yet. So I stand in line, I get 2 hot chocolates, I come back, and Matt and Colleen had gotten in line. They get to the front of the line, and they order 2 double Kahlua hot chocolates. It was a Tuesday. And if I didn't know before, I knew right then that they were destined to be winners. But in all seriousness, you two are a perfect pair, and I'm honored to be your friend. You've been at every major milestone of my life, so being up here, standing here at the official start of yours is quite an honor. I know I referenced earlier that we're men, and we don't say I love you or even convey sensitive, normal emotions, but I don't care. I'm going to say it in front of all of these people. I love you very much. And with that, let's toast to Matt and Colleen.
I love it. My throat is quarter.